Hi, welcome. I'll be telling my birth story at the end of this video, but for now you hear a little bit of how I feel on my son's 21st birthday. It's a lot to take in. My baby turned 21 and we had a kind of mellow party for him, being COVID and all. I was just kind of silent the whole time. I felt like I felt this great pressure and I just felt so bottled up inside. Just here I am the next day with a hangover, but more of like an emotional hangover. Not really from the alcohol. I don't drink that much. But I can feel the holding. And it just reminded me of all the years of holding him as an infant. He just would not be put down. I mean, we really practiced attachment parenting without having heard that phrase yet. In 1999, when he was born, I just knew I wanted to do something differently. And there was this huge part of me that just wanted it to be natural. And I wanted to give him the best chance possible to grow, to be a human, just the way God intended him to be. And I didn't want there to be barriers, whether those barriers were chemicals, junk food, or drugs, medication, or emotional barriers, or those kind of barriers, the stories that you're told when you're little that you can't accomplish things or you'll never admit, you never become anything. And when everybody told me, to put that baby down and let him cry it out, every cell in my body told me that was wrong. And so I held him and I slept with him and we nursed, on-demand feeding, cluster feeding. I mean, I didn't even have words for any of these things the time when I was doing it. I just knew it was right. But it was really hard. It was really hard. It was really, really hard. It was exhausting. To be 20 years old and just so determined and so alone. And so I learned this habit of emotional holding it all together, holding my shit together, making sure everyone from the outside saw that I was doing a good job, while in the inside I was just freaking out. And that's what I wanted to share today, was just that it's hard. Parenting is really, really hard work. There's sleep deprivation, which they do use as a torture technique. I mean, it is torture to not get enough sleep. And all the, all the time spent, they just scream and cry. So yay for my instincts as a young mom, and boo for all the hard work and how lonely it was. I want to share more about that at some point. But I just wanted to say that I'm here just feeling that holding. And I'm breathing and trying to make more space in my body, my system, for more energy, for expansion, for new ways, for trusting my intuition and continuing this journey of raising a child who's now become a man and watching him now makes my heart race and makes me so happy and excited. Okay, now for his birth story. It's my favorite thing to talk about birth stories, and I've often thought about having some kind of podcast or story hour where we could all just share our birth stories and listen and celebrate how different and diverse they are. Every child is different, and every birth story is different, and every birthing experience is so unique. And they're raw, and they can be scary. But most importantly, I think in telling our stories is that we normalize the fact that there is no one experience, and we normalize the fact that anything can happen during birth, and it's all natural, and it's all beautiful, and it's all meant to be, because it brings us our beautiful angels, it brings us our children, and it births us into becoming parents. Parenting is really, really hard. So of course, that transition to parenting is going to be just out of this world. I would say that the number one thing I learned from giving birth is I'm not in control. I'm absolutely not in control. But when I let go, when I surrender, and I allow the wisdom of my body to take over, everything unfolds. And that's exactly what happened while I was giving birth. So exactly 21 years ago today, I was laying in my bed at home with a brand new infant, only hours old. And the night before, I had been in labor. And it all started out earlier that day in 1999. Kind of a regular day. My husband and I, we had been married just 1 month before. I was giantly 8 months pregnant at my wedding. We tended to go for walks in the morning, so that's what we did. We woke up in the morning and we walked downtown, and I was feeling some light contractions, but I had read about Braxton Hicks, so I wasn't too worried about it, and I thought, oh, this could last for days. So we went for a walk, and I actually had an appointment with my midwife later that day. So my mom came and picked me up, and she drove me out to my midwife's office, which was about a 40-minute drive from my house. And when we got out there and my midwife checked on me, she said, "You're 2 centimeters dilated." She said, "Go home, I think we'll see more today." So I got sent home from the midwives, anticipating giving birth later that day. My mother and I stopped at the grocery store for a little food. In particular, my mom wanted to feed my husband in case it was a long night. And it was at the grocery store when I was pushing the grocery cart that I had the first contraction that felt intense enough to slow me down. And I told my mom, okay, we better get home. But by the time we got home, I hadn't felt any more contractions. And so my mom unpacked the groceries, and I told her that she could leave, and we'd call her if we needed anything. And I actually decided to mow the lawn. My husband quickly took over mowing the lawn and sent me inside. And I decided to sit on the bed and just meditate on relaxing my hands, and began the mantra of open, and visualizing opening like a flower. And then suddenly the contractions really picked up. And this point, it was probably about 5 p.m, and I called my midwife, and she said she had one last appointment. We were planning a home birth, and we were planning a water birth. She had a tub that she was going to bring. So she said, I can rush there right now, or I can finish an appointment and pack the truck and head out in a little bit. And I thought, yeah, head out in a little bit. Like, finish your appointments. I want that tub. So I told her to take her time. And boy, that was kind of a mistake. By the time my husband came back in from mowing the lawn, I was really in the flow of regular contractions. He called the midwife back and he asked her to rush. That was probably another hour and a half later, but I really insisted that I needed that tub. But y'all know I said it was a 40-minute drive for my midwife to get to my house. So that was it. You know, the last thing I kind of remember was I was kneeling on the floor, leaning on the gliding rocker and just rhythmically rocking back and forth, moaning. My husband called it singing. And I was just letting those contractions roll over me. And then I remember the moment I told him I'm pushing, and he said, "You can't push." And I said, "No, you don't understand. Like, it's happening. It's pushing." I wasn't doing anything. It just started taking over my body. Every cell in my body began to push. And at that point, I knew he was coming. My sister lived with us at the time. She was actually a senior in high school and was living with us in order to go to school in the city. And she walked in with a basket full of laundry. She had been washing clothes, and you know, my husband said, "What do we need? I think she's going to have the baby." And my sister knew where I had kept the birthing supplies I had bought, so she collected everything. And just then the midwives walked in. At that point, it was about 7:30 at night. It was getting dark. They actually put on headlamps and didn't disturb any of the atmosphere. And they came right over to where I was kneeling on the floor in the living room by the rocking chair. And 15 minutes later, he was born at 7:45 p.m. It was one of the most intense experiences I've ever had. And when I remember it, I actually can picture it as if I'm on the ceiling looking down. I think I practiced hypnobirthing without knowing what that was, because I had gotten into such a trance. I was literally out of my body. And I remember telling other women later, like, it didn't hurt at all. My second birth was a much different experience, and I can tell that story another time. But I was actually just so blissed out. He was born, the umbilical cord was wrapped around his head. I remember they had to take a moment. But things went pretty smoothly. I did tear. And when I birthed the placenta, still sitting on the floor of my living room, they noticed that the placenta also tore. And at this point, they had to actually do a pretty intense procedure that most women would be rushed to a hospital to receive. But in the essence of time, my midwife decided to actually reach inside of me and manually remove the rest of the placenta. I remember kind of still being in that blissed state, and my midwife said, "Anna, I think you're smiling. Like, this is really painful." Once the midwife was able to confirm that she had removed all the placenta by piecing it together in our salad bowl, she cleaned us up and got us into bed. And by about 10 p.m., we were alone in our house again with our new sweet little guy. And I didn't sleep all night. I just stared at him and watched him breathe. It was the most incredible experience. I have so much more to share about that. But for now, I'm gonna say goodbye and let you have a great day. And I'm gonna keep sitting with the excitement and the pain and the just pure effort it takes to have a child. And sit with my gratitude for the fact that I have this incredible man now who's really caring, loving, and thoughtful person. To all those parents out there, you're doing a great job. Like and subscribe to this video and to my channel. Follow me on social media to hear more raw truths about raising kids. I'll keep sharing. Bye.